4.2 ounces, a 4-inch blade made of flat ground S30V steel, wicked fast deployment, titanium liners that are skeletonized, phosphor bronze bushings. This is the Model 740 Dejavoo, previously reviewed by me, Nutnfancy, in the project. I remain a fan, still like the knife, and just because I level some criticisms at the design doesn't mean I don't like it. Some of the criticisms were it has no blade retention in handle, pretty much none. There's no detent really to hold it, and in that case it's probably best that we are carrying, or I should say forced to carry the knife in a tip down configuration. Non-reversible, I wish we did have the option, but the blade's so loosely held in the handle, it's probably best that it goes tip down in this particular model. Also, I kind of criticized the deployment hole. It is kind of occluded by the G10 handle. Still can get to it, but it is not fully exposed. I won't go into any more depth. You can look up the review in the description I wrote up on it. It still is a cool knife. One of the things I love about the Dejavoo is that it is a full-size tactical folder that is around the 4-ounce mark. And I've said as much in many reviews that is my arbitrary kind of weight limit that I like, around the 4-ounce mark. If it's a little bit more, I don't care as long as it gives me something. But if I can get a 4-inch blade, fast deploying one, around 4 ounces, I'm really happy. 4.2 ounces, the Dejavoo. So interested. Also, just as another aside, also proving the notion that you really do not need an automatic knife as a fast deployer. That Dejavoo comes out really quick, and since it basically has no in-handle retention, you can shake it out like so and deploy it that way. I think I showed that in my vid as well. Anytime I can see a knife or find a knife that kind of goes along the lines of this Dejavoo. By the way, that's not a knife cut on my knuckle. Believe it or not, I cut that on a wood shelf. Big splinter. You should have seen the splinter I brought out of that. Huge. Yeah, it felt good. If it was a knife cut, I'd show you that. Used it in my first aid vid. Back to the blade. Yeah, the Dejavoo is an attractive blade because it's so light, so fast, and I believe it's an ideal police officer backup blade because it won't increase their loadout weight to the point of being obnoxious like some blades will when you get into the 4-inch sized blade. So anytime I can see a knife along these lines, I am interested, especially if it follows the quality of the Benchmade Dejavoo. I cannot fault the quality of this knife. It is outstanding. Fit and finish, superb. Well, enter a brand new player, the one I just found out about, and it is equally cool. In the second kind of cool, whoosh. Yeah, sound effect. This is a Spyderco Barong. Look at this bad boy. And it is very similar in a lot of ways, in my opinion, to the Dejavoo. It is the exact same weight, 4.2 ounces, about a 4-inch blade, albeit the cutting surface on the Spyderco Barong is less, around 3 inches. You do lose a little bit of cutting surface on it, but same POU. That is a Nutnfancy term. It means philosophy of use. And what I mean is this is a defensive backup blade for soldiers, civilian sheepdog, or my police officers or federal officers out there. Great choice for you. And now you have another one in this very cool Barong. And I will tell you right now, not only is it not only does it have the first kind of cool in spades, again, that's overall practicality, utility, it also has a lot of the second kind of cool, which is collectability and just enjoyment for its user. And for me, this Barong really fills the bill with that second kind of cool. I just love it. I am attracted, I will tell you right now, to these leaf-style blades. I think they are very functional. Yeah, they are born out of the Philippines by the Moros down there in the Philippines. I'm not the end-all expert about these blade shapes, but I sure do like them. I think the leaf shape is very functional, either for utility purposes, let's say food preparation, great shape, especially when it's full flat ground. We're going to use a Skyline, today is the Pointer by Kershaw, Full flat ground blade made of VG10 steel in the case of the Spyderco Barong. That's going to be a great food preparation knife. Great utility knife. No matter what you would choose to use this knife for, I think it would cut well in a utility assignment. How about defensive use? Well, just like the Dejavoo, it's got that reach. I like reach in a tactical folder. Now, that's not to say that a smaller knife could not serve, but I think a 4-inch blade around there is almost ideal for a defensive tactical folder. Maybe offensive, depending on what you got going that day, soldiers. Great reach, I think, and it could be a superb defensive blade, don't you think? You will immediately, by the way, notice the differences in the angles of the blade. Here's the Dejavoo, pretty much a straight line in with the handle, and then the Barong, true to its history and its heritage, kind of drops down, putting the blade more in line with the wrist as you hold it. How do I like that? I absolutely love it. I think it's awesome. I love that. It just gives a nice angle, almost like a kukri, don't you think? And I know a lot of fans out there on the kukri blades. This is kind of a mini kukri folder in a lot of ways. See how that angles? It's kind of a U shape. I think it would increase slashing capabilities of the Spyderco Barong because of that angle. I could be wrong, but that's just what I'm thinking. There's that full flat grind. Love it. Look at the finish on that. It's kind of a Scotchbrite finish on it. This is an Ed Shimp design. I apologize, guys. I really don't keep up with the designers or where they're from, what their background is, what they do. I just don't have time. I'm more of a user, somewhat of a knife collector. You know that. But I kind of concentrate on the knives themselves. I wish I had more time. I would find it very interesting to find the histories of these guys. I think on the Spyderco site it does talk about Ed Shimp, his background, where he's from, what he does. And I will say, though, Ed, you did a great job in designing this knife. He got a lot of things right, and pretty much most things. Little odd thing about the knife, though, you can see that, again, it only has about a 3-inch cutting surface. Here's your deployment hole. Rather large, which I like. I love that, but this is the flat base of the knife. There's no cutting here. Normally when I see that in a blade, I don't like it. I like a full cutting length all the way to basically here, if I have a choice. But for some reason, I just don't care in the Barong. I like it. And maybe it's because of the angle, maybe the ability to choke up on the knife like so, that lends itself to not having the cutting edge go all the way back. Don't know. I just don't really mind the way the blade is ground. Love it. Look at the deployment hole compared to the Dejavoo. It is fully exposed. Notice the deep plunge of the liner and the handle, so allowing full access to the deployment hole. Seems like Spyderco's getting it right. Maybe that's because they came up with a deployment hole. Dejavoo, still a great knife, but I wish that deployment hole was fully exposed. Thank you very much. How's the deployment on the Barong? Wicked fast. Just as fast as the Benchmade Dejavoo, truth be told. It is fast. Lockup is tight. Man, I like a tight lockup. To me, a tight lockup is like a sports car that delivers. It can pull G's in the turn and accelerate and look good while doing it. Seriously, that's what a good sports car or a hot car should do. It should go fast and look good. You know, if it looks good, but it doesn't go fast, that's only half of the equation, isn't it? The Barong looks good. I've already established that, at least in my opinion. I mean, your preferences may vary, but I think it's a good-looking knife. But it also goes fast. Wicked fast deployment, solid lockup, absolutely no play laterally or up or down, and even if it did side to side, you could adjust it with that pivot screw. Wicked, love it. Man, I love that blade shape. Here comes a criticism though. Why didn't you jimp this, Spyderco? Ed, you watching? You out there? Dude, seriously, you should have jimped that. There is absolutely no jimping running along the spine. I don't know if he has a thing against jimping, but it would be much more functional had he done that. What am I going to do if I ever get one of these knives? Well, I hope I do. Well, I'll probably just add some skateboard tape along that upper spine of the blade, a la Spyderco Police G10. See how I added that little section right there? Yeah. And I will tell you, that's an easy modification to perform, and it makes a world of difference on the purchase you can obtain on the spine of your blade or on the back, depending on what you got going. Great. This is a liner lock. Okay, so some guys may have issue with the strength of that liner lock. I think that's an unfair criticism given the POU. And as I have proven in my stabbing protocol video, a liner lock can actually serve quite well, as that Ontario Rat 1 proved itself in some pretty serious stabbing exercises on my defensive tactics bag into very thick cardboard. I don't think this would be any different. For any realistic purpose you would put this knife under, this blade would serve quite nice, or the lock would serve very well indeed, I think. That takes us to the handle material of the Barong. It is a medium textured G10 in foliage green. First off, let me talk about that color. Isn't that a cool color? Love that color. I think Spyderco calls it a foliage green. Could be a little bit off. Me, I call it a sage. That is a sage green to me. Kind of a light olive drab. Absolutely love it. I think it sets off the brightly finished VG10 blade nicely. Also contrasting nicely with the bright steel liners of the knife. Very nice. Medium texturing on those G10 scales. Not super aggressive. Given a choice in a tactical folder, I do kind of prefer the aggressive texturing. Along the lines of that pterodactyl by Sig Arms. I think I did a preliminary tabletop review of that. Maybe the Cold Steel Lawman. Those are aggressively textured scales on that bad boy. And also its brother, the Recon 1. Same. But they're not the only ones that put them on. I'm talking Cold Steel. How about the Kershaw Avalanche? Those are nicely textured, aggressively textured G10 scales on that. Love it. Back to the Barong, though. That's not to say you're not going to have traction on the scales. Excuse me. You will. They're going to give you adequate traction on the side. Again, very reminiscent of the Spyderco Military, if not identical in the slab material. Just different colorations is all. But I love that coloration. It's awesome. That takes us to the liners, by the way. Let me just mention this. I think I read somewhere that the Barong's liners are fully skeletonized. Not true. As you can see in there, they are not skeletonized at all. Kind of wish they were. It would probably kill a ½ ounce off the weight. I know it's just a ½ ounce, but if given the choice, I would like it. Wouldn't sacrifice anything in strength. Just make it even faster in hand, easier to carry. If given a choice, when I'm talking especially steel liners, please manufacturers, skeletonize them out, man. And I'll show you and have shown you examples of manufacturers that have gotten that right. By the way, this is open pillar construction, just like a lot of the blades I've reviewed here at the Nutnfancy project. I really like that. Makes it a lighter weight design. Yeah, you can flush out all the mud or guts, whatever you got going, right through the handle. Disadvantage might be is if you do drop it in the mud, you got a little cleaning project on your hands. Blowing that out. How's the clip on the Barong? Love it. Standard Spyderco quality and design. I like the Spyderco clip. I always have. I think I said as much when I reviewed this bad boy, the Spyderco Centofonte 3. This is one of my EDC knives, as you can tell. A lot of wear on it. Same clip, wouldn't you say? Same Spyderco logo. I really like, however, how they made it gold. Just a little attention to detail there. It just contrasts so beautifully against the black and the sage color handles. Just a little detail. I love that, though. It is reversible left to right, and thankfully, oh so thankfully, they made it for tip-up carry. Always my preference. Really it is. Now, to be fair, I think I criticized the Dejavoo about having no in-handle retention. How is it with a Barong? Well, kind of a downside. It's very similar to the Dejavoo. It does not have a lot of in-handle retention. However, it's not all bad. It has some. So I do detect a little ball detent there in the blade. Dejavoo, none. I don't detect any. You know, so a little bit there, although it could probably be improved just a little bit. I gotta wipe this off. It bugs me when I'm getting fingerprints all over this beautiful blade. Just love it. Especially for review. We want it to look nice. So that's the clip. Beautiful. This takes us to the ergos of the handle, by the way. I didn't really mention these. It locks in the hands, or in the hand, I should say, very nicely. With that deep drop in the end of the handle. Very reminiscent and true to its Barong heritage. That's very standard in the design. I love that. Now the Dejavoo had a little bit of that. I may have mentioned that in the video, don't remember. A little bit of drop there. But I really like the Barongs because it's very purposeful, especially in a defensive use of the blade. Granted, we don't have the jimping up here, but we do have a very good handle, good scales that lock in on the fingers, and moreover, we have a mechanical stop at the end of the pinky for that. If you really wanted to extend, maybe go 3 fingers and get some more extension on the 4-inch blade, I guess you could do that as well. How's the reverse grip of the Barong? Excellent, and strangely enough, it locks in that position just as readily. I want to show you a couple other knives kind of along the lines. I already talked about the Spyderco Military, just for sizing differences. So you can see there's a military size against a Barong. You can see that Barong is a bigger blade than you would think. You know, it looks a little bit small in the pictures, and that's why I am showing you this. Here comes a SOG Flash 2. You can see it pretty much dwarfs the SOG Flash 2. The previously reviewed and outstanding Spyderco Police G10 beats it in overall length just by a hair, but still you can see that Barong holds its own in terms of size. It is a great blade shape and it gives you a lot of reach with it. And I already showed it against the Dejavoo. So overall, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some details, but the Spyderco Barong is an impressive blade to me. It really is. It, first off, is a cool-looking, fun-to-handle collectible. If you like collecting knives, maybe higher-end knives, then you might want to consider the Spyderco Barong. Probably like many Spyderco knives, it's probably going to be limited in production. It's going to come, it's going to go, it's going to be gone. So if you like it, pull the trigger on it. It is not a super cheap knife. It's not. It's going to be around $130, $140. So no, not inexpensive. But, you know, it all depends on what your definition of expensive knives is. Like I've shown you in some other vids, there are knives that go on upwards of $300 up. So in the big scheme of things, for what you're getting and probably the collectability of it, probably a fairly good value. Now, by collectability, I'm not going to say that, oh, this is super limited edition, you know, it's going to just go up in value. My term, when I say collectability, does not necessarily denote an increase in value as time goes by. To me, it means to you, it's going to be a knife that you love having. That because it was limited in production, limited in availability, that for you and your loved ones, who you will probably hand it down to, it's going to be collectible. And after all, isn't that what counts? Pretty much. Forgot to mention, by the way, you could take the knife apart. There's your... Well, actually, I'm probably wrong on that. I don't see a way to take it apart on the pillars. Oh, you know what, though? You probably take these handle scales off, and once you do that, I would bet dollar to donuts that it's going to reveal some screws on those pillars that you can dismantle, should you need to do it. I really don't see why you would need to do that unless perhaps you went mud diving and you got that knife really muddy. There it is, the Spyderco Barong. It's an outstanding knife. I absolutely love it. I love the fit and finish, the speed, the solid lockup, the blade shape, the choice of steel. Didn't really speak to that because I've spoken to it many times before. VG10 has proven for me to be an outstanding steel in the Centofonte 3, which I've carried for years. It's an excellent, easy to sharpen, holds a good edge steel. Love it. With good rust resistance. Great looks too with those sage-colored, medium-textured G10 handles. I really can't say too much bad about this knife. Nutnfancy signing off with a cool knife review. Thanks for the good ratings, tuning in, the support. I totally need it. More gun reviews and other stuff coming up. See ya.